Hello all. I thought we would discuss some things that we learned in week one. That way we'll make sure that we're on the same page together. Now, if you think about ethics, especially as it pertains to the ethics of an action, is an action good, is it bad, is it right, or is it wrong? It can be divided into two meta-paradigms. Don't be put off by the language. Meta-paradigm just refers to a paradigm, which first of all is derived from a Greek word for pattern. Meta, think of it as being over it, like a meta-theory. So there are two meta-paradigms we're going to be thinking about in ethics. One is called consequentialism. The second one is called non-consequentialism. Let's focus on consequentialism for a moment. Consequentialism can be divided up into two different parts, egoism and utilitarianism. They both have this in common, namely that they consider the good, the bad, the right, the wrong of an action to lie in its consequences. Now don't confuse that with the consequences you learned about when you were in school. You're going to get consequences for that. Consequence here just means something like an outcome. And as far as consequentialism is concerned, there are two possible consequences. One is pleasure, the other one's pain. Egoism says that the right action is the one that causes me the most pleasure and the least pain. It doesn't say anything about others. Utilitarianism says we should do the action which causes the most total overall pleasure for as many people as possible. Utilitarianism can be divided into two different kinds. One, act utilitarianism. The second one, rule utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism says that we should strive for that individual action which causes the greatest good for the greatest number of people, and each action has to be weighed according to its consequences, whether it produces pleasure or pain, and then it depends on how many people are affected. Real utilitarianism is a lot simpler. It basically says there are certain rules that, if adopted, will cause more pleasure than pain, and therefore we should adopt those. Now going back to our other meta-paradigm, non-consequentialism, there are four main ones that we'll probably be looking at from here on up to the end of the semester. One is the so-called God-command theory. The second one, Kantian, are sometimes called deontological ethics. Third one is natural law theory. A fourth one is natural rights theory. God-command theory basically says that an action is right or wrong whether or not God commands it. If God commands you to do X, then it is right to do X. If He commands you not to do X, then it is wrong to do X. Kantian or deontological ethics, well, the best way of thinking about those is to consider the root word of deontological, which is dein. It is a Greek word and it means duty. Kantian ethics, therefore, is concerned mostly with doing your duty. There's an algorithm that tells us what our duty is. If you look at my introduction from week one, you'll see that I laid out basically in that starter thread exactly how Kantian deontological ethics works. Natural law theory basically says that there's a natural law of things that causes us to act in a certain way, and insofar as we conform to these natural laws, we're doing okay. St. Thomas Aquinas is probably best regarded as the founder of this theory. Natural rights theory, on the other hand, says we should do something that promotes a person's rights. It is seen that we have certain kinds of rights. These are inalienable rights. They come to us depending on which version of natural rights theory you adopt, either from God or from nature or from some sort of enacted legislation. At any rate, over the next few weeks as we go through this course, we'll all be relating various actions back to one or more of these paradigms which fall under the two basic meta-paradigms. Your thinking will be a whole lot more coherent if you adopt one of these in your writings. Thank you very much.